Hello everyone. It is time for the January wrap up, the first one of 2025. And it's been a good one. I know last year I didn't read any books in January and didn't start this channel until February. Technically not this one because I had another one but got locked out and stuff, but started videos in February, middle to late, because I was sick. So this is more than I did last year, that's for sure. But this is the first one of 2025. I read 7 books. The first one that we're going to get into is going to be the one called Archer. This one was by Dr. Rebecca Sharp. And this one I got because I kept seeing ads on Facebook about like a Criminal Minds kind of story, and I used to love Criminal Minds. I stopped watching it kind of near the end, and definitely with the reboot I didn't. So I decided to check it out. It was free on Kindle Unlimited. I was gonna say Audible, but no, Kindle Unlimited. It was free on, so I checked it out. And this one was about this girl. Her dad worked for the mafia. He was turning them in, so her and her dad were in witness protection, and they were going to get ready to testify against the people. And so she had a bodyguard named Archer, and he was being helpful in like letting her experience certain things because she was locked down, couldn't do a lot of stuff. She was young, I think at that time 19, and so she wanted to do all this stuff, so he was trying to make it as enjoyable for her, but still kind of follow the rules to protect her and stuff. And then what happened is that in the story, she fakes her own death, so the mafia people think she's dead, but they didn't tell the Archer guy, so he thinks that she's really dead, and it affects him, obviously, emotionally, mentally, all that. So he goes back home to his small little town and runs a business there with his family. And then 4 or 5 years later, she suddenly comes back, and his small little town has some crimes going on, and it's unusual what is going on, but it's like nothing horrible because they are near a big town that has tourists who come and go and cause problems sometimes. But then he finds out that she's not dead, and he's dealing with the fact that, again, his trust was broken and it had affected him. So now he's trying to figure out what happened and all that, why she's there, if she's in connection to why something maybe happened in his small town. And it goes from there. And it was a pretty good book, I will say that. It wasn't great and fantastic, and that one specifically didn't really give me like Criminal Minds vibes. I see where the main one is for me, that is. And unfortunately, it's the last book and the last brother, and that's because he's more like Spencer Reed with like knowledge and facts and all this stuff. And it's just one of those things where it's like I would have to keep reading it to get more of the Criminal Minds kind of vibe that I was hoping for. So I gave this one a 4 stars. It wasn't horrible, it wasn't great, but it didn't live up to what I was expecting personally. So, next one was Rita McFadden, The Perfect Son. This one was about this mom, her son. He's perfect, he's great, he's on the debate team, he's like really smart and nice and kind, and he does like track and field and all that. But there's this girl who goes missing, and her son's the last one to be seen. And even though he's perfect in some sense, there's been some instances in the past that make her suspect that her son might have actually kidnapped this girl that's all of a sudden gone missing, and he was the last one with her and stuff. So it's pretty interesting, but I wouldn't say it's a thriller book, because in a way this one was really slow paced, very, very repetitive in certain aspects, like constantly talking about what he did in the past for different things. And it does give it where it's like it constantly kind of makes you feel like maybe he did it. So there is that. I will say the twist at the end is kind of interesting, but it also is kind of one of those things where you kind of suspect it has to be a certain person, because you also get the victim, the girl who got kidnapped, you get her perspective and stuff as well. So it kind of makes it where when you get hers, like, it's interesting, but it also makes you kind of narrow down who it could be, even though she also kind of makes it still seem like the son. So it was good, wasn't great. I only gave it 3.5. This was my lowest rating in January. Next was Blast from the Past. This is book 3 in the Riley Thorne series. She's the one who has psychic abilities, doesn't really want them, starts to kind of use them to help, like, her now private investigator boyfriend and, like, cops and stuff in certain things. This one has to do with the fact that Nick, her private investigator boyfriend, him and his ex-cop partner friend, his ex-partner cop friend, whose name I can't remember, I have no clue. But basically, his sister disappeared a long time ago. Nick blamed himself and did everything to try to find the sister that went missing. Basically, in the last book, near the end, Riley's grandmother, who talks to dead people, said that, hey, I can't reach your sister because she's probably not dead. So, makes Nick go back into full-on, like, let me investigate and find out and see if there's anything I missed. It's been a few years of all this. Him and Riley bought this house to turn it into, like, a bigger office and a house and stuff for them. And he basically kind of neglects that to focus on it. And she's, like, trying to help too, but, like, without him knowing, because he's very protective of her, which you can tell, but he's also kind of stubborn in the fact that he doesn't, like, kind of want her to help, because, again, he wants it to be himself. But the sister comes back, runs into Riley. She has a crazy story of what's happening and stuff, and Riley doesn't believe her and is trying to use her psychic gifts to find out what's going on, and basically kind of burns out because of everything that she was dealing with, and kind of loses her psychic gifts for a period. And yeah, this one, it was pretty good, not the best. The Nick guy and his thing kind of pissed me off, and it kind of made it seem like there's more going on with him and the sister that went missing, but all it was is that he really just kind of blamed himself for some reason, and it didn't fit. So this one was a 4. It was still good, it's still funny, and there's one more book left in the series that I have that I'll probably try reading, but this one was not as good as the others for sure. It probably would have been closer to a 3.75 if I'm honest, but I gave it a 4 because I still liked it, and there's a funny Halloween scene that I think makes up for it, so that one was a 4. Next is Witch of Wild Things. This is book 2. I don't remember if it has a series name, to be honest, but this was book 2. I read the second one on accident first, which was Lightning in Her Hands, about Teal. This one is about her older sister, Sage. This one goes into where Sage comes back after leaving home because she was dealing with all the issues of their sister having died and getting blamed and feeling guilty and stuff. But suddenly now she has to come back because she lost her job and has nothing and nowhere else to go. And she's still dealing with her sister being kind of moody and, like, mean towards her and blaming her for stuff. And she's just trying to, like, deal with it. But then she kind of snaps a little too, and she's like, I got put all this responsibility when our mom left when we were young. I was stuck having to raise you guys, having to do all this stuff for you because our aunt didn't want to. I was even blamed. She was blamed for her sister Sky dying when it wasn't her fault at all and all that. But she comes back. She has powers to where she can talk to plants and whisper and, like, hear stuff. And her and this guy named Tennessee, they are working at this plant farm that, like, does flowers and, like, plants, basically. I don't know what it's called. I read it, but I don't know what it's called. And basically she's going and trying to get new plants that are like rare but have a story and stuff. And she's going with the Tennessee guy who she had a big old crush on back in high school, but he broke her heart unknowingly, and she's trying to repair her relationship with her sister Teal, and the sister who died is haunting her as a ghost, and she is trying to help the spirit kind of move forward, but finds out that it's not really a spirit, but her sister is technically alive, and you find out what happened kind of more. The second book, her sister that died was alive and getting used to having been gone for several years, and like everyone wanting to know like what happened and stuff. So this one's more kind of like the beginning of that and stuff. So interesting. I give it a 4. It was still kind of, it was good, but it was still like confusing. Still has some stuff that I'm like, I wanted more. It does make more sense with this one going into the second one. So even though I read the second one first and I still kind of understood it, this one definitely would have helped with certain things for sure. So 4 stars if I didn't say that. 4 stars. Next, this is called The Invisible Library. This one is actually part of a series. I also don't know what it's called for the series, but this was book 1, and I think it's like an 8 or 9 part series. And I had this one, and then I had like the 7th or 8th book, and I was like, yeah, no. But this one is The Invisible Library. It's about a girl named Iris. She works for like a place called the library, and like they use words and language and kind of have like powers, like magic in a sense, to where the words can help them do certain things. And they go to like different dimensions and time periods and worlds and areas to collect books that have special stories or different words and stuff to help them. And I won't lie, this one's kind of confusing with the whole world and understanding it. It does still kind of explain it, but there's still a lot of questions left. But this one was interesting too because Iris, you don't know their age either. I'm guessing like young teenager, or not young teenager, but a teenager, if not a young adult. Just based on the way she acts and kind of behaves, to where it seems like she still doesn't know a lot, but kind of does. So there's that. But she basically is sent to mentor a guy named Kai, and go and retrieve this book. And the area world location is chaos infected, which means there's something wrong with it, where just the world is kind of off center. Like there's supposed to be like balance, and somehow this one, it has no balance and it's like all over. So they're supposed to go to that world, collect a book, come back, give it to the library. They go there, they learn all this stuff, that there's like fae, vampires, all this stuff. It's kind of old school, like past kind of history, to where again like women are supposed to wear dresses and stuff, and like the men are kind of more in power. So there is that. And then they go there and they find out that the book is gone. Somebody stole it. And the person who owned it, he's dead. He was murdered and the book was stolen. So then they're trying to figure out where it is, what happened, all this stuff. And they're dealing with attacks by like, what was it? Like a metal centipede, I think was the first one. And then they go to this party and alligators with like metal jaws or something come and are attacking, and it was really crazy and weird. And then there's dragons in it, so that was kind of interesting, but not like fire-breathing dragons, kind of more like dragon shapeshifter, kind of has powers, but you don't fully get to see it or see them, but you get to hear about it kind of. So there is that. So I gave this one, I believe, also a 4 star. It was good. It was interesting. I do kind of want to read the next one. I think I have it on ebook or my library book thing, so I might check it out soon. But this one wasn't too bad. It's just a little confusing and like a historical fantasy kind of thing, which is kind of new for me. Because usually you get either fantasy or you get like historical fiction or historical romance kind of things. So it was interesting to have historical plus fantasy to me. So there's that. Next one was Throne of Secrets. This one is book 2 of The King of Sins by Carrie Maniscalco. I butcher her last name all the time, but I love her books so far. I read the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy and then the Throne of the Fallen, and so I got that one. This one I was waiting forever, and I was so glad it came out. And it took me a while, mostly because anytime I read it, like, I didn't want to put it down, and of course I had to sleep and wake up and do adult mom things. So, but this one is about Prince Gluttony. He has it where for his kingdom, he has a truce with dragons to where he can hunt them to like help feed his sin and help his court stay strong. But all of a sudden they start attacking. He doesn't know why or what's going on. And then there's a reporter named Adriana. She hears about it. She's trying to find out. She's trying to drag his name and all this stuff down. And it's really interesting because you don't know why she's so annoyed with him. Like, in a way, you kind of are like, oh, maybe she just doesn't like that, his behavior and stuff and, like, what he does. But, like, then you start to kind of see that, no, she really has, like, something against him. Like, some deep-seated, like, dislike towards him. And it takes a while before you find out the true reason behind it. Which it kind of is explained very, like, near the end and kind of a little fast. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, she just, like, let it stew in her, like, soul to where it just became such a deep hatred that she was trying to drag him down. But she's a gossip columnist who's trying to find out about this dragon stuff. And he's trying to prevent her from exposing the dragons because he wants to keep it hush-hush till he can find out what's going on with the dragons. And so he gets removed from being a gossip columnist to like a love guru columnist kind of thing, like advice columnist, I guess. And she gets called Mismatch, and she's trying to figure that out while still doing all this other stuff. And then there's like a Cinderella kind of retelling to where like she goes to this club where like there's glamour to make it look like she's not her but someone else, and she meets someone who she kind of like connects with and go from there. But another thing is that the Prince Gluttony is trying to find a way to distract the court so they don't hear stuff, and so he has like a competition to find a bride. And of course Adriana has a stepsister who gets put in there, and a stepmom, and she doesn't have her dad and all this. And it was really good, and I loved it. This was my first 5-star book, and I loved it. I loved the world. It did seem a little kind of drawn out, and it was until like the last like couple hundred that it got to the part where finally things started happening to where you found out about like why her deep like dislike of him, what happened, why the dragons attacked. All this stuff kind of happened near the end, and that was a little drawn out and stuff, but I loved it. I loved going back to the world. I loved the little Cinderella kind of retelling and the dragons being included. I love dragons. So this one was my first 5-star, and I was so happy to read it. And I wish that the next one was revealed, but I know the author said she's taking a break real quick, I think due to health concerns. So hopefully she is good, because I love this series and I can't wait to see which Prince of Sin is next for it. So, and my last book of the month was Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. This is my book of the month book choice. I didn't like any of the ones they have, and they do have the option to where you can skip or pick, like there's like 4 or 5 options on the bottom if you don't like the ones they picked for this month. They have some options to where you can pick different ones instead, and I picked this one because I've heard of Catherine Center and how she has really good work and like romance where it's not like super spicy, but it still has like deep topics kind of. So I picked Hello Stranger, and I finished it on the very last day of January, And it was a really good book. It's about this girl, Sadie. She's a portrait artist, and she's in this final competition, top 10, beat like over 2,000 other people, right, to get to this top 10 finalist position. And it would mean so much to her to win, because then she gets all this money and she feels like she'll be like a successful artist. But she collapses in the middle of the street, and a stranger helps her get to the hospital, and she finds out that she has like I think it was like a tumor or something, or a brain bleed aneurysm or something. I don't remember specifically, but they say, hey, you should have surgery, get it fixed, get it repaired. Takes a few weeks after, of course, to recover and stuff. And she's like, well, I can't, because I have this big contest I need to be working on, and it's my big break. So she goes back home. She's like, I'm going to get this contest in the bag. I'm not going to worry about this thing. Her dad comes and he tells her, no, you need to go get the surgery and you need to get it now. He's like, you can't wait. And she's like, tell me why. And so she finds out that her mother, who had also been a portrait artist and who had also been in this contest and was in the final, and had died before she could get to the final piece, had the same thing. And she put it off because she didn't want to do the surgery, because she had the contest and some other stuff too. And she died. So Sadie is like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have the same thing happen. So she gets the surgery. Quick and easy. The scar's hidden in her hairline. No problem. But all of a sudden now, when she looks at people's faces, it's a blur. She can't distinguish the eyes, the nose, lips, all that. And as a portrait artist, she's freaking out, because that's what she needs to be able to do. And so she's going through this whole process of having face blindness, and there's a specific term, and it says it near like the back of the book, and it gives you explanation and all that. It's a big long word too, if I remember correctly. No. Hold on, sorry. Prosopagnosia. And so it talks about 2 types of face blindness, or prosopagnosia. I am probably butchering that. But basically, again, she has that. And there's the kind where people have it all their lives and they deal with it. And then there's the kind that something happens and they get it. And that's what she has. And so she's trying to deal with it. She's depressed and sad and upset because, again, she's dealing with not being able to see people's faces, not feeling confident and all that, having troubles, having it where this contest that means the world to her is now a struggle, and all this other stuff. And she meets a guy, she meets a vet who saves her dog, because her dog gets sick as well after her surgery, which she's like, oh God, no, save my dog, don't care, help. And then there's a guy in her apartment building who she doesn't like at first, but then he starts being nice and stuff, and she starts realizing it. And the funny thing is that this one has like the biggest amount of miscommunication in it ever, because again, she's struggling with it, but she doesn't want to tell people she's struggling with it. She just wants to go about her life, feel like ignoring it, not saying anything about it means that it'll go away quicker. But it causes a lot of problems, including in the end, where she finds out that the vet and the guy in the apartment building are the same person. And yeah, it's funny, but it's also like she changes and grows, and you get to deal with like kind of her being depressed and upset about this, and like getting advice from a doctor about how to handle this and how to deal with it in a way that I think was really good. And I really did like this book. So I did give this one a 4-star. There's just something about it that kind of like was hit and miss with me a little bit. Like, I don't know. It was a good, easy read. I liked the flow of it. I liked how it was. But something, I don't know, something was missing for me. And I don't know if it was the ending kind of was like good and interesting and funny, but also like missing, like too fast, too like, I don't know. Something was missing to where this wasn't a 5-star, but I felt like it could have almost been. Almost. So, So those are the books I read this month. Like I said, I think I had 3 other books I was in the process of reading, because in some sense I was trying to find stuff that was quick and easy to read but also fit like my mood at the time. But those are the ones that I finished, and we have a new vlog that is going to be coming out next month that is not just a reading wrap up. I hope it will be a good one as well, but I hope you enjoyed watching. Like I said, if you would, make sure you like and subscribe, comment and tell me if you read those books, if you have any book recommendations and stuff, and I will see you guys next month. Bye!